We're getting started our 2026 NFL Draft Guide, and we're going to do it with some first looks. I don't know how many of these we'll do. We'll see how they do. If they do well, we'll continue to do them. But the idea here is these are going to be quick, short, and sweet videos where I don't show a ton of clips because we're trying to get to a lot of different players. And it's really just that, a first look. As the college season begins to wind down, we can revisit some of these players. Things will change as I continue to watch more of these, and I change my opinions on certain players. But it's a good first look to kind of get us rolling as we get into some of the bigger content over here from mock drafts and whatever it may be. So today we're going to start off on the defensive line with Christen Miller from Georgia. Why? Well, there's no particular reason. It's just the last player that I watched. So I was like, we'll start here first, just get this thing going. This is a 4-year junior listed in at 6'3.5", 305 pounds. That hasn't seen a ton of snap production over the last few years, really until this year, due to that defensive line depth that Georgia consistently has. And production-wise, because of that, you don't have a ton there to look at. 2.5 sacks in his career, listed with 0 so far this season, according to PFF. On top of that, he's playing the game pretty darn fast for a guy that hasn't ate up a ton of snaps to this point in his college football career. I do like his play speed as a run defender and as a pass rusher, the urgency that he brings, some of the motor that he brings to the table as well. Those kind of things feel like a non-negotiable when you watch this player play. So let's start there with the run defense. Great quickness out of his stance. Very quick into positioning for different run schemes. That's where you see some of the football intelligence really pop. Down blocks, he's quick to settle himself down. I think he may need to cover a little bit more depth upfield. That may show up more as a pass rusher to this point, really closing airspace. But he enters into offense line with great juice, good timing, fast hands. He widens out his base on that first contract. He's got contact. He's got a leveraged entry that can give him some issues where he'll kind of fall over his toes a bit. I think combo blocks can be inconsistent. One thing you'll notice is his anchor is not outstanding to this point. He thinks his lower body to just sit down and hold his ground. And I do feel like that he can lose his balance a bit when he's trying to work to really sustain and control combo blocks to this point. But he's a very proactive mover that will occasionally pull himself out of run schemes, specifically like counter run schemes when he's trying to track down the football. But he's in a good spot there for the most part. And he does play pretty fast to take on blocks. Sometimes you'll get him in some awkward positions, but he's got such athleticism, specifically in the lower body, to reposition himself, to take on blocks accurately and consistently, to also get an early strike that's successful, leading to some inconsistencies in that early lockout. I think a big thing is you'll start to see his hand slide up. I don't think he has consistent hand quickness to reset himself back down to open up all the shed opportunities that could be there. So you'll see his hand start to rise as he looks for that early contact and try to really settle himself down, which can hurt his shed a bit. But his lateral twitch is on display. He can work laterally down the line of scrimmage pretty easily, work a lot of different run schemes, a lot of different zone schemes, and stay square to the line of scrimmage when he's on time. Fast feet to attach, drop his weight, again, handle double teams or just handle single blocks as well. His base strength to me will get pushed around a little bit at times, and his balance and hand placement are inconsistent when his initial entry is not completely accurate to sustain a block. So I don't think the resets as clean to this point, and that could give him some problems. I think there are times where you'll see him get sealed out of plays, but he has the bend to lock out on single blocks. You'll see this also in the ankle bend as a pass rusher as well. He's just not overly stout to this point from what I've seen. I do like how active he is in his footwork. He's very active through engagement, and it gives him an opportunity as the play continues to roll along. And then you talk about some of that scheme quickness on the backside, his quickness to work on the backside of run schemes and zone schemes that kind of play off the hip of offensive linemen. Occasionally he'll get caught playing behind gaps trying to make a play, and I think that can cause some issues. But for the most part, you can see a head-up awareness, stand where he wants to get to. It's just occasionally you may lose the football doing things like that. He's very disciplined when he deals with pullers. He doesn't just take himself and run himself out of play. He's going to settle himself down, be ready for oncoming blocks. There's an awareness, there's an innate feel to his game in terms of the instinctual side. And then you look at some of the athleticism, the ability to kind of rip underneath gaps and get upfield and be a one-gap penetrator upfield. Again, now his hands will slide a little bit in hand placement, but to me, what I like about it is he has that early stick that he has on offensive lineman. He can control reps early, strong grip when he wants to control blocks. I think he's got really nice length to him as well. I don't know what it is officially, but I think it's going to be in a pretty good spot. That upper body suddenness to be pretty slippery when working upfield. Back and shed separation is just not consistent, especially dealing with combo blocks. He'll bend himself down, he'll corkscrew, but it's just not always the most consistent to actually get off blocks, and you'll start to see him kind of get sandwiched in with offensive linemen, and then he doesn't have an opportunity to actually get off of blocks. But as a pass rusher, this is where you'd see a lot of the upside potential. It's the lateral quickness, the ability to find rushing lanes, to change the direction, to shake at the top of the rush, all those things that he could tap into. An athletic running body that offers second effort opportunities. Got a long arm move, and he tends to tie these with something. He's got a long arm chop that he gets to, or you got some of that redirecting shake. The push-pull doesn't feel overly effective as of now, and sometimes it's hand swipes why he loves to go to him, and you'll see him kind of jolt around offensive linemen with violent, aggressive hands. Occasionally you also see some hand swipes that just don't feel necessary, and he's not actually doing anything with them, but his stop-start change of direction, the body control, the agility that he carries, that's all something that you really like, and he has the bend to really punch and create creases and get himself upfield. A bit of wiggle in his game. You need more consistency. Like, how do I work into that second effort move, right? How do I go from one offensive lineman to the next, right? What's my next plan? I don't think that's always tied together well. I don't think he tends to string things incredibly well together outside of, hey, this is my first punch and I'm going to have a chop off it, or I'm going to rip immediately on the play. You don't always get a second effort move even after getting past the first assignment, especially as like a stunt rusher or transitioning as a stunt rusher. I don't feel like is overly successful. Speed to power can be a little bit missing due to some of the inconsistencies with entries. Got some ankle bend to his game to flatten a bit, especially from the interior. It's noticeable. He deals with scramblers well. I think he's going to be a good finisher at the next level because of how well he changed directions. And then he brings the effort to get back into plays as a run defender. There's an elusiveness. He can deal with slide protection because of that and become a little bit of a problem as well, where he's just hard to get hands on. And he's got a quick and efficient two-handed swipe with shake connected to it that tends to give him a little bit of separation, at least give him an edge to try to work on and attack. Now, I think he can get a little bit skinny as a rusher, so I think sometimes he needs to stay wide and out a bit. Just, again, stringing things together, not always consistent, so you tend to get him to, like, stall a little bit after the first move, where it doesn't always feel like he has a natural plan to kind of get into to continuously be successful as a pass rusher as of now. And he pushes through his lower body. You know, some of those stabs that he has are very impactful because he'll push it through the ground, create a lot more force than what you would expect in some spots. It's just sometimes that entry angle is kind of awkward, and it doesn't feel like it would always translate to the NFL. But you know he's capable of doing that. He knows how to create power, and he flashes that specifically. Just the transitions and bull rush, things like that need to be a little bit cleaner. You'll get some forklift moves that are nice with his hands. First step is something I really like. Very good first step. I think his play strength is going to need some work for shedding and also just being super stout against the run. His pass rush, I think, has got a lot of potential to it. There's a lot of ways that he can win right now. Not always the most polished. Obviously, you want to see him be a better finisher. I don't think his plan makes a ton of sense, but I think there's a ton of upside here. Sheddability, probably the area I think he needs the most work, but I like his hand usage, even though sometimes it's not always accurate or feels like it makes the most sense. They're active hand, violent, his body control, agility, his ability to tackle in space. I think he's a smart player from what I've seen. He shows some good discipline as well, right? Sometimes he'll pull himself out of plays. He shows good discipline and really good motor and a great motor. High energy defender. He can be early, rotational, and effective, I think, in the NFL. You may have to work a little bit for him to be a full-time starter, depending on the team that he would go to, but attacking upfield, the instincts to naturally, I think, fit in right away, and the movement skills that are there. It's just for down-to-down consistency, maybe a little more strength, more consistency as a pass rusher, more consistency with his hand usage, right? Not allowing himself to get walled off on plays because you're going to get some hit-and-miss ugly reps there, I think, early as of now. But he can get upfield. I think, you know, there's flexibility on the line. You can play him at nose like he did over to the zero, maybe a little bit small in the NFL, but 3, 4, 5. There's some flexibility up and down the line. He reminds me a little bit of Moro Ojomo. As of now, that's my early thoughts on Christen Miller. Who do you want to see next? Thank you for watching.